Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. We begin with breaking news. A conservative youth activist has been shot and killed during an event at a college in Utah. Charlie Kirk was the CEO of Turning Point USA. Political leaders on both sides of the aisle are responding to the news of Kirk's death and condemning the violence. KPBS reporter John Carroll is live in the newsroom with that reaction and what we know about how it happened. John?
Maya, Kirk was speaking to students at an event at Utah Valley University in Orem. That's about 40 miles south of Salt Lake City. Videos posted to social media show Kirk seated under a tent speaking into a handheld mic. We're not going to air that video as it is very graphic and disturbing. We do have this video coming up from the scene with law enforcement responding after the shooting. In the social media video, you can see that a single shot rings out and Kirk immediately reaches up with his hand as a large volume of blood gushed from the left side of his neck. Stunned spectators gasped and screamed. Many ran away. FBI Director Kash Patel posted on X that a suspect is in custody. President Trump announced on Truth Social that Kirk had been killed, and the shooting has drawn reaction from political leaders here in San Diego. Republican Congressman Darrell Issa posted this message to X: R.I.P. Charlie Kirk, please keep his family in your hearts today. Democrats from San Diego's congressional delegation all posted on X as well, saying they condemn the violence. Representative Sarah Jacobs had this to say, quote, I fully condemn this shooting. It adds to the feeding frenzy of political violence in our country, which makes all of us less safe and scares us into submission and silence. Republican Assemblymember Carl DeMaio also issued a statement about the shooting. It ended with, quote, as Americans, we must recommit to civility, respect, and the protection of free speech. Turning Point USA has chapters at San Diego State University and UC San Diego. KPBS has reached out for comment, but we've not yet heard back. In the newsroom, I'm John Carroll, KPBS News.
Thank you for that report, John. New developments today in a story that we've been following. Opponents of a proposed East County sand mine are celebrating what could be a final victory today. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer says a Board of Supervisors vote was unanimous against the proposed Cottonwood sand mine.
This proposal is not just another land use application. It is an industrial-scale mining operation proposed in the heart of a residential community.
After years of back and forth, county supervisors denied an appeal by developers to transform Cottonwood Golf Club in Rancho San Diego into a sand mine. Multiple groups like the Sierra Club San Diego chapter and the Sequan Band of the Kumeyaay Nation opposed the project. The group Stop Cottonwood Sand Mine says since 2018, area residents have expressed concerns over the sand mine project's potential impact on public health, traffic, noise, and the environment. Former County Supervisor Diane Jacobs spoke at the meeting.
I've been a part of many land use hearings. In my decades of experience, I can tell you I have never seen such a destructive project with such negative impacts on the people who live in a community.
The sand mine would have covered more than 200 acres and operated for 10 years. Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Some people like Heyman Construction's Jake Richards spoke in support, saying more local sand will lower construction costs.
The costs are skyrocketing. A lot of that is because we're sourcing materials from out of state, out of country.
Developer Cottonwood Cajon LLC declined to comment after the vote. In an earlier statement, they said, the Cottonwood proposal will ultimately rehabilitate the site and dedicate nearly 150 acres of permanent open space and give land to the County of San Diego for free. This is an unprecedented offer and benefit for all of San Diego County. In addition, the temporary local source of essential construction sand will help offset skyrocketing costs for housing and infrastructure and create hundreds of high-quality jobs. The project's mining operations would have extracted, processed, and transported aggregate sand in phases across the site for cement concrete. The San Diego County Planning Commission denied a major use permit for the project in July. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
The city of San Diego has a new plan to protect several miles of coastline from sea level rise. KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murga says it's in response to increasing risks of severe flooding and erosion.
San Diego city leaders approved what they say is a landmark plan to protect the coast from sea level rise. Last century, sea levels in San Diego rose just under 9 inches. They're expected to rise 5 to 14 times faster this century, according to city data. San Diego City Council member Jennifer Campbell says having a plan now is necessary because of changes that are coming.
They are coming with sea level rise, and it is coming faster than we thought 10 years ago it would come. So we have to really get on this.
The Coastal Resilience Master Plan would shift parking lots and traffic lanes away from the coast, starting in Ocean Beach, Pacific Beach, and Sunset Cliffs. In Ocean Beach, for example, the plan raises dunes and builds a multi-use path for pedestrians and cyclists at the Dog Beach. At Sunset Cliffs, a portion of the boulevard would turn into one lane, making more space for pedestrians. Some residents say these changes could improve access to the coastline and control erosion, while others are concerned about impacts to neighborhoods.
Redirecting traffic through local residential streets will lead to increased traffic safety concerns.
But the plan is only conceptual.
We're very much in step one. There will be a lot of additional engineering and community engagement work that still needs to happen.
The city used more than $1 million in state and federal grant funds to produce the plan. Tammy Murga, KPBS News.
We're in the midst of a bit of a weather pattern change across much of Southern California. Turning a little cooler out there. You're going to feel more of the difference into the interior. Tonight, we're going to see those patchy low clouds return, and they'll be a little more stubborn near the coast over the next few days with that onshore flow, extra moisture. But we're turning cooler. You'll notice that most of the green on the map here, our showers and thunderstorms are going to stay away from Southern California. We'll talk about the temperature trend in through the weekend coming right up.
San Diego State University students gathered on campus today in protest. Mecha SDSU is calling on university leaders to take action in response to this week's Supreme Court ruling. It allows ICE and other agencies to use factors like race, ethnicity, language, location, and employment to determine who is arrested. Protesters are demanding SDSU become a sanctuary campus.
We have a good community of undocumented students of an immigrant community here on campus, and we are fearful to be here. We give SDSU so much of our money to have community here, to build our safe spaces here, and we are at risk of ICE or Homeland Security being here.
We reached out to San Diego State University for comment. They sent a statement that says, in part, quote, SDSU remains committed to fostering a safe, inclusive, and supportive environment for all students, faculty, and staff, and continues to provide support, resources, and community referrals to any potentially impacted members of our campus community directly. Recent labor market data backs up what many job hunters said anecdotally. The jobs market has been slowing down. And as Karen Kafa reports, that's raising concerns about the overall economy.
Recent data around the U.S. labor market has been disappointing for job seekers.
Many of the sectors across the economy have been very stagnant at best, and we've been in this low hire, low fire environment for quite a while.
And a sluggish jobs market typically doesn't bode well for the overall economy.
Usually when labor markets slow down, that's a pretty good indicator that the general economy is slowing down.
On Tuesday, the Bureau of Labor Statistics issued revised U.S. jobs numbers for the period between March 2024 and March 2025. and suggested U.S. companies created about 911,000 fewer jobs than initially reported. This after Friday's government report showed U.S. employers added just 22,000 jobs in August, a sharp drop-off from July, even as the unemployment rate stayed relatively low at 4.3%.
We're not adding a lot of jobs, and actually we're losing jobs in some sectors. The probability of becoming unemployed really hasn't gone up a whole lot. Layoffs are still relatively low. However, if you become unemployed, it is taking people longer to find jobs.
Laura Ulrich, director of economic research for job search site Indeed, says frustrated job hunters right now should consider how their skills translate to fields that are seeing growth, like healthcare and social assistance.
Thinking about how your skills that you have are adaptable to other jobs or maybe even other sectors is really important.
And Ulrich says to consider AI tools like Indeed's new tool, Career Scout, to help better align skills with the search for open positions. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
It may soon be more expensive to take the trolley or ride the bus in San Diego. MTS officials are proposing a fare hike anywhere from 10 to 20%. The goal is to increase revenue and eventually balance out their budget. Under the price increase, a one-way fare would go from $2.50 to either $2.75 or $3. An adult monthly pass would go from $72 to as much as $86. Opponents say raising fares puts too much pressure on low-income riders.
I can't support it because I think that it will just add additional pressure to working families. I'm not continuing to do this on the back of poor people. I'm just won't be able to do it.
MTS is voting on the fare increase tomorrow and would still have to go through more legislative hurdles. If it passes, it would be the first major price increase since 2009. The price increase could take effect by next July. Electric bikes are a great way to give kids the mobility that they need to be independent. They can also be dangerous. KPBS SciTech reporter Thomas Fudge has this look at how a new breed of bike is changing the lives of kids and the streets of San Diego.
School's out at Olympian High School in Chula Vista, and a lot of these kids who are heading home through the back gate are getting home on their bikes. And these bikes, nearly all of them, carry a big battery that drives an e-bike motor.
I have to ride home every day, and I live about like a mile and a half away, so riding a normal bike would take very long. And it's mostly uphill.
None of the bikers here are popping wheelies or endangering pedestrians, but most ER doctors will tell you electric bikes are a reason why bike injuries are on the rise. The chief of trauma surgery at Scripps Mercy Hospital says his hospital used to count e-bike and e-motorcycle injuries in the dozens every year. Now they're in the hundreds. The head of trauma medicine at Brady Children's Hospital says e-bikes have made bike accidents more serious. No longer a case for the ER, but a case for the operating room.
Most times when we see bicycle injuries, they don't really warrant a trauma surgeon or a trauma team to see them. But the e-bikes are much more fast, much more difficult for some kids to control. And so the injuries are much more severe, especially in relation to head injuries.
E-bike motors give an electric boost to a bike's pedal action, and many also have a throttle that will run the bike 20 miles an hour without pedaling. Class 3 e-bikes will power the pedal assist up to 28 miles an hour. Dr. Vishal Bansal, the trauma surgery chief at Scripps Mercy, this week attended a press conference with law enforcement, pointing out the potential dangers of electric two-wheelers. Both he and Dr. Ignacio said e-bikes can go even faster when they have modified motors.
You might sell a bike that has a limit of 20 to 25 miles an hour. I guarantee you these kids are going to modify it to go faster.
But I didn't speak to anybody who thought they could wish e-bikes away. Everybody seemed to agree that education was key to keeping kids safe. And that's what cycling instructor Jeffrey Schnur tries to do.
And I think e-bikes are great because they really improve people's mobility options. Whether you're a child and you may not be able to get up a hill biking, instead of having to dismount and walk up, you can just bike right up.
In this parking lot in Solana Beach, about 10 kids, most of them with e-bikes, are learning how to ride them safely. The class last weekend was hosted by the San Diego County Bike Coalition and the city of Solana Beach. It began inside with a class relevant to any bike trying to navigate local streets. How do you make a left turn on a multi-lane road? How do you stay out of the door zone where a car door thrown open can endanger a cyclist? Outside, kids practiced some cycling drills before they all went for a short road trip.
I think the thing that makes you the most safe as a cyclist is being conspicuous and being predictable.
Being conspicuous sometimes means taking the whole traffic lane a car would occupy. That can be done easier with an e-bike, which can better match the speed of a car. Cycling instructor Ron Dashwood uses an example from his hometown of Encinitas.
So if you're on residential streets, the speed limit's 20 miles an hour. An e-bike, a class 1 e-bike, can go 20 miles an hour. So you can be taking the lane on a residential street, and you're going the speed limit.
Ella Gutmann is a North County teenager taking the cycling class. She says her e-bike has given her a sense of responsibility and independence.
It's really fun as a kid because I can't really go places that far away by myself because I can't drive and stuff. But with electric vehicles like e-bikes, it's a lot easier to do that.
Ella's dad, Tomer Gutmann, said it took a while before he was comfortable with Ella on an e-bike, but he sees the upside now.
If the child can take care of themselves and go to after-school activities or friends, it's going to help parents and myself, my wife, be able to address other things instead of just being a taxi driver all afternoon.
The city of Carlsbad will hold a meeting next week to determine whether it should prohibit the use of e-bikes for kids under age 12. Chula Vista has done that already. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
September is National Child Passenger Safety Month, raising awareness to make sure that caregivers know how to install and use car seats correctly. Mandy Gaither has tips from a pediatric emergency medicine doctor.
It remains a leading cause of death for youth in the U.S. In 2023, motor vehicle crashes killed more than 1,000 children ages 14 and younger.
Many of the children who are injured or killed in a car crash are either completely unrestrained or using a restraint improperly.
Dr. Manisha Agarwal with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta says the most important thing parents can do to keep children safe on the road is to use the right seat in the right way. First, make sure to buy the right car seat. Very young children need to ride in rear-facing seats as long as possible until they hit the maximum height and weight suggested on the seat. Then a forward-facing seat is the next step, followed by a booster seat. Check the seat's manual for maximum height and weight limit.
And if you've thrown out the instruction manual, most of these car seat manufacturers have really helpful websites where you can find that manual and figure out what that height and weight limit is.
Next, make sure the seat is properly installed. The Safe Kids Worldwide organization says use either the seatbelt or lower anchors to secure it. Don't use both at the same time. Forward-facing seats need a tether with the seatbelt or lower anchors. A properly fitted harness can also provide protection. Agarwal says a child passenger safety technician found at some places like fire stations can help make sure your seat is set up correctly.
You may be the world's safest driver, but you cannot account for every other human being out there on the road.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
This week, the San Diego City Council took an important step toward charging for parking at the zoo. For our Why It Matters segment, Voice of San Diego CEO Scott Lewis explains how we got here.
The San Diego Zoo is probably our most prominent local attraction. It recorded nearly 4 million visits last year. The city estimates that zoo guests spent more than $570 million in the region. And now the city and the zoo want those guests to spend a bit more. For many years, they've been able to park their cars at the zoo for free, and that's going to change. To understand what's going on, you have to go back to 1979. The Zoological Society of San Diego has operated the zoo for 109 years. It actually rents the land from the city. Its space in Balboa Park is city property. The city and the zoo signed the current lease in 1979, and that lease allows the zoo to charge for parking. But it has a big rule. they can't charge different amounts if someone is a zoo member or buys a ticket or is a San Diego resident. They either charge one price or they don't charge at all. Here was Adam Day, a board member from the zoo, at the City Council on Monday.
We understand the city has certain constraints that they're operating under, and the zoo as a nonprofit association has a few constraints as well. But today's action, to be clear, the zoo has had the ability to charge for parking for many, many years. In fact, since we've been operating the zoo, but we've never chosen to charge for parking. Today's action will allow us, as city staff have indicated, to charge city residents less than non-city residents.
They want this change because the city will soon begin charging for parking in Balboa Park. It would be super awkward if the zoo's parking lot remained free. So that's what happened this week. The San Diego City Council simply agreed to allow the zoo to come up with a plan to offer different parking rates to different people. In exchange, city officials and zoo leaders have agreed to share some of that money with the city. The City Council passed its last budget assuming that $3 million would come from parking at the zoo and that more than $15 million would come from parking in Balboa Park. So they are motivated to move quickly. They will not hit their goals if they don't start charging by October 1st. They're also charging higher parking fees around the city, and it's caused a lot of blowback. Here was Council Member Vivian Moreno.
For a one-day pass, it would cost a family of four over $250 to go to the zoo on any given Saturday. Adding an additional amount for parking is going to make it that much harder. Although this amendment does not specifically set a fee that residents will have to pay, it is essentially the first step forward in allowing this to happen.
Now the only question is how much they charge, how much less they charge residents, and how much more money they'll share with the city. I'm Scott Lewis for Voice San Diego, and that's why it matters.
Voice of San Diego is one of our partners, the Public Matters Initiative. You can learn more at kpbs.org/Public Matters.
Well, we do have a bit of a pattern change underway, and it's going to be one that I think most people, especially if you're in the interior where it's often very hot, are going to enjoy. We're turning a little cooler out there. There will be some persistent morning clouds and some coastal fog with an onshore flow, a little bit of an enhancement to the moisture present, and it will be breezy. Whenever the winds pick up, we do get concerned about fire danger. We've had several homes burn because of a 5 to 10 acre wildfire in Southern California this week. There will be more moisture, though, and that will be helpful in general with a little bit more of an elevated dew point. Higher relative humidity should help to reduce some of the fire danger, kind of offsetting the increase in wind. So we still have concerns, but again, it's not going to be like a Santa Ana wind event by any stretch. This is an onshore flow. Tonight, intermittent clouds, 66 for your overnight low, and not bad out there on Thursday. Looking good. Mid-70s in San Diego, 76 Oceanside, Escondido 79, Ramona 81. We can handle this in El Cajon, 80, pretty comfortable. Mount Laguna only 62, Borrego Springs, double digits. We like to see that, 94, instead of the triple-digit heat that we sometimes still face in September. Upper level low pressure system spinning its wheels. That's going to direct that onshore flow, bringing some Pacific air. It's like the refrigerator door is open and there's a little bit of a fan blowing that cooler air across Southern California. Most of the showers and thunderstorms are going to stay way far away from us, well off to the north. Here's an example. Future radar will show that on Thursday. We'll begin to see some action Thursday afternoon up into the Sierra. Isolated downpours, none of that around us, though. We're just going to stay dry, but that marine layer will be a little more persistent with the current pattern. Friday, similar story. Spotty storms way up in the Sierra. We stay dry. Temps hedging into the mid-70s for the weekend, partly sunny. Our coolest day will probably be Sunday along the coast. Into the inland areas, 79 Thursday, maybe a degree or two warmer Saturday, a smidge cooler on Sunday. Pretty comfortable out there. Into the mountains we go. Here we have some elevation under our feet. We're going to be dealing with readings in the 60s to near 70. A lot of sunshine, a little breezy. And desert forecast staying in the double digits. We're going to begin to warm up a little bit on Monday, but still not a bad stretch. For AccuWeather, I'm Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
A new supermarket celebrated its grand opening today in North County, and it only serves homeless and working poor customers. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wynn explains.
It looks like your neighborhood supermarket. and it feels like one, down to the shopping carts. And that's the point.
It sends a signal that Brother Benno's cares.
This is Brother Benno's new 1,400 square foot food distribution center. Paul McNamara is Brother Benno's executive director. He says the indoor market offers a dignified shopping experience to the people they serve.
As you might be aware, the homeless and working poor often are not as welcomed in certain institutions as you might think. And so we wanted to kind of give them this feeling of you're walking into a supermarket.
When I come here, I don't get the ugly looks that I normally get when I'm outside of this area.
Brian Celso says he has been homeless for the past 13 months. He was shopping at the store today.
I mean, everything from salads, fruit, different kinds of cheeses, pastries, gotta have the sweets, breads, vegetables.
What's great about this program is that people can pick and choose what they want, and there are limits on certain items, so nothing goes to waste.
A working poor person might have a refrigerator, they can take a gallon of milk. Chances are a homeless person doesn't have a refrigerator if they're living out in the riverbed, and so they might take a smaller carton or just a single bottle of milk, that they can consume in that day before it spoils.
McNamara says it's a more efficient way to distribute food.
When I get the food, I try very hard to make sure that none of it goes to waste.
Today's opening was ceremonial. They started serving customers last month. The store is open 6 days a week from 6 to 10 in the morning. Brother Benno says they will be serving about 150 people a day and providing around 150,000 pounds of food a month. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Previs Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.